has finally agreed to marry me.
Marry you?
Well, then that's great news. We have to celebrate as a family.
Alonso and Malena are secret lovers.
What?
I went inside Alonso's room and I found Malena with him in his bathroom.
I swear he will never hurt you anymore. I promise you that.
Uli matupi wewe na wewe ni nini?
Mimi ulinipotelea nikajiuliza sasa hizi ni mashita gani? Wewe unajua wewe ndio ulikuwa best friend wangu hizi siku zote.
What's go? Nakwambia wale matope kumbe ile kitu iko na sibiti. Ili kocha sibiti yake kumbe ni 2000 km/h. Ili nikaongeza hapo bongo. Bongo ikachikana na small intestine. Small intestine ikachikana na polymeros.
Saki kuestiwa time. Wewe umekuja hapa. Si uko na kitu cha kusema?
Lego nayo.
Si uniambie nasikiza I can as well multitask.
Nani ajui? Nani haelewi story zako?
Nyama. Ati nini?
Haujui? Hakuna mtu mwenye.
Wewe.
Nini?
Sauti ya Kenya
92.9. Hii ni KBC Radio Taifa.
kila kitu maishani kina sauti yaleta furaha.
Radio.
Sauti ya elimisha yahimiza yatuleta pamoja. Sauti ya Kenya
Radio Taifa.
Sauti ya Kenya.
Safari Park. A very good afternoon to you. It's exactly 1 p.m. on the 27th day of February, the year 2023, just a day to the end of this February of 2023. Thank you for joining us here on Lunchtime News. I am Nissie Imano. Susan Thuku is our sign language interpreter this afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Now we'll begin at the Safari Park Hotel in Nairobi, where the Women's Economic Forum Kenya 2023 is currently ongoing. And Ruth Wamboi is our reporter who will be joining us live now with an update. Good afternoon, Ruth.
Thank you so much, Nissie Imano Okoth. Yes, we are at the Women's Economic Forum, whereby women today is a day. You know, this Women Economic Forum in Kenya started in 2021, just right after the COVID-19 pandemic. And women, as the backbone of economies, they face a lot of challenges in their discharge of their duties, and especially due to cultural barriers and other things. Therefore, this forum here is just to help women to be able to know of the available opportunities that they can take advantage of and ensure that they thrive well in their businesses and other things, because they are the ones who drive the economies. And I'm joined by the Executive Director of Crown Trust, Daisy Amdani, just to let us know what the forum is all about today. Welcome, Daisy.
Thank you so much, Ruth.
Currently, as a as a director of an organization that deals with women from the grassroots, maybe you can tell us some of the key issues and challenges and how important is this forum to the woman back there at the village.
Thank you so much, Ruth. So when we conceptualized the Women's Economic Forum, the idea was to bring together key policymakers so that we can discuss interventions to unlock women's potential, because we know that women have been excluded socially, politically, and economically. And because of that exclusion, women actually continue to suffer economic disempowerment that makes them vulnerable to very many things. But there are also other barriers, those barriers that make women unable to adequately participate. And we need the government to make deliberate interventions to alleviate those challenges that women are facing. And so it is an important conversation because our focus is on the women are over half of the population of this country. And for as long as they remain economically marginalized, our economy is not going to grow, because you have over half of your population participating inadequately. So here we are about solutions to unlocking women's potential by asking government to address the barriers and make concrete interventions. So some of the barriers include unpaid care work, the burden of unpaid care work. We know that women they are the ones who do most of the care work at home. But because of that, it makes them unable to engage with the labor force, right? They have to drop out of the labor force because of that. Yet, there are concrete interventions government can make, like, for instance, recognizing that unpaid care work contributes to care work and making it easier to alleviate that burden from women by having, early childhood centers, creches, even recognizing that contribution to economic growth, so that the work that women do is respected. The other thing is access to finance. We know when you try to get money for business, it is difficult, even at the best of times. You need collateral. Women have been culturally excluded, economically excluded, and not allowed to own property. So when you go and you are asked to bring collateral, a plot, title deed, or something, or that you need to have a certain amount of money, women don't have that, so they can't access finance. So how do you remove those barriers, give access to finance, and then affordable finance? Because finance in Kenya is also very expensive, Getting a loan, the percentages for those loans, the payback time, the punitive measures, we know people have been auctioned, so many things have happened. So how do we make it easier for women to access at affordable rates? And we really appreciate what government has done, because government has set aside funds. There are so many funds, Women's Enterprise Fund, Uwezo Fund, the CGS program. The government has been doing its part. The other thing is also we support government by disseminating information. We get this information down to those grassroots women, because remember, for a lot of women, access to information is also a problem. Ikitangazwa kwa redio, na redio ni ya mzee, ama itangazwe kwenye baraza ya chief, and the only time the women go to the baraza is when they're having problems. So how information reaches women, we also help in disseminating that information so that they know how to engage. Then of course there's the issue of skills, building adequate skills for them to be able to run productive enterprises, businesses, do things productively. Hata kama ni agriculture, how do we make that agriculture more productive, so that it's not just subsistence. So these are the things that we are talking about.
And Daisy, I heard the CS say that they should take advantage and use their mobile phones, and some of these women are illiterate. How will that one be able to work?
Now, the adult literacy is there. Kuna elimu ya gumbaru. So being illiterate doesn't mean you have to continue being illiterate. Illiteracy is solved by building their capacity to be literate. So using the mobile phone, we may say that they are illiterate, but you can show them and you can teach them how to use the mobile phone and basic literacy, because even those mobile phones that are not necessarily the mobile solutions that are not necessarily smart solutions that you can use with the general feature phones are things that they can be shown how to use. In fact, it helps unlock so many things, because even as the government works towards putting in place the infrastructure, we know that there are places where hizi huduma hazifiki, lakini kupitia simu hizo huduma unaweza ukazifikia. So educating them and showing them how to use that and building their basic literacy skills to understand how to use that. Those are also interventions, and that is our commitment. As civil society, non-state actors, we are committing to government that we're not just asking you to do this. We are committing that we will partner with you in this. We will do our part. We will go out, we will disseminate the information. We will also come back and tell you what are the challenges, what are the bottlenecks, and ask you to unlock some of these bottlenecks. You know, like now we have the panel discussions today. We have experts. We are disseminating research based on findings that we through the research that we have carried out. What people are saying on the ground. Sio vitu ati tumekaa kwenye ofisi. You know the way people think civil society works, that you just sit and generate your own ideas. No. These are informed by real people on the ground, real problems, and they are saying if government can do A, B, C, D.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Daisy, for your time. I wish you a fruitful deliberation.
Thank you.
Now I hand you back to studio Nissie Imano.
Thank you very much, Ruth Wamboi, who was speaking to the Executive Director of Crown Trust, who is Daisy Amdani, and she's one of the keynote speakers in this forum that is expected to run today and tomorrow. We'll give you an update in our subsequent bulletins. Let's also take a look at another live update from Nairobi City, where the joint health unions are today holding a peaceful procession to present petitions to the Ministry of Health and Parliament. Let's take a look at that.
Good afternoon to you, Nissie, back at the studio. So early in the morning, we've been following up a peaceful demonstration that has been held by healthcare workers. And with me here is clinical health officials who will be speaking to us on what has been happening from morning till now.
Yes, thank you. My name is Peterson Washira. I am the chair for Kenya Union of Clinic Officers, and I'm also a chair. The Health Sector Caucus brings all these people together, from the unions to all the associations that we have when we sit together as the health sector health workers. We are here today because some cohorts that the government has decided to use and dump, and we are here against the use and dump policy. We have the COVID-19 response group and the UHC interns who were recruited when we had the scourge of COVID-19. Some of them actually died from that pandemic, but then they were dumped a year after. And we are saying that the government should be able to absorb these people to get the experience, the rare experience that these people have gotten. Then we have this team of UHC health workers with a 3-year contract elapsing on May this year. And we heard what the summit said. The summit said that they want to continue the contracts and at the same terms and conditions. We have no problem with these people continuing to be engaged and to work for Kenyans because they are very important. But what we have a problem with is the terms and conditions, because they are being paid as they are sitting here working together is being paid who is on PNP. So they are doing the same work, but these ones are paid half of what the other one is being paid. And so we are saying, because they are laws, and laws do not allow discrimination, do not allow unfair remuneration. That is our Constitution, Article 41 and Article 27. And the government must also be able to obey the law that they have put in place. So we are asking, we have been to the Ministry of Health, and we have asked that they post the interns immediately. The contracted UHC staff, that they can either put them on PNP, permanent and pensionable. If that is not possible at this time, then we want them to be paid a salary that is equivalent to their peers that they are working with. Yes. Because that is what our laws provide for. And we have given the CS for Health 7 days to convene an urgent meeting, because we are people who are reasonable, so that we can have a consultative meeting and discuss how we are going to resolve this.
Live pictures coming to us from Nairobi City, where the Joint Health Union today, Monday, the 27th of February, holding a peaceful procession, and Opicho Chemtai was giving us an update on that. We will try and get her back or give you a more conclusive report in our subsequent bulletins. Now moving on, a section of the clergy in Kakamega County are calling on political leaders to double down on political rhetoric and focus on the welfare of citizens. The leaders are cautioning the threats by the opposition to mobilize Kenyans to mass action over the rising cost of living that could plunge the country into political anarchy and reverse gains in uniting the country. They are now calling for a truce among political leaders.
Joma naomba wa Kenya wote mali popote mlipo tusiache watu waweze kugombana, watu waweze kuongea huko. Acha tukue kitu kimoja.
Unajua amani inatoka kwetu sisi wenyewe. Mimi mwenyewe nikiwa amani wa kwanza, hata familia yangu including mzee wangu atafuata hiyo nyayo.
Na mimi naomba vijana wetu msitumiwe, kwa sababu wakati unakubali kutumiwa vibaya, wewe ndio utaumia.
In other news, the anti-drugs campaign in the country is set for radical change following an ambitious plan by regional heads of state to rethink strategies in addressing drug trafficking and handling users. The push is backed by 3 retired African heads of state and a host of experts. Former Mozambique President Joaquim Chissano, former Mauritius President Kassam Utim, and former South Africa President Galema Montlete, advocating for a shift in tackling the war on drugs, say the traditional methods employed by governments to deal with drug trafficking have bore little or no fruits, and it's time to adopt new strategies in line with the changing methods by drug traffickers. The proposed campaign will operate under the Eastern and Southern African Commission of Drugs on drugs situated in Cape Town, South Africa. The initiative is being funded by the European Union, working within the auspice of the United Nations.
Should be solved.
The approach really of the Commission is to, in the main, focus on harm reduction, decriminalization, and of course the criminal justice system, rather than penalizing end users, should really focus on the manufacturers and the traffickers.
And residents of Poro in Samburu County have taken to the streets to protest over the increased cases of insecurity in the area. This follows a spate of attacks and killings by raiders. The latest, the murder of a local senior chief, Stephen Longer. Timothy Kipnusu reports.
Led by former Samburu woman member to the National Assembly, Maison Leshomo, the residents urge the government to assure them of their security like any other Kenyan.
Watu karibu sasa mwezi mbili. Hakuna siku moja mtu akufi, auliwi, mali inaenda, watu wanakimbia, na hiyo yote serikali inajua. Si ati hamjui, mnajua kwa sababu mnapata report kila siku.
Former Samburu North Member of Parliament Alois Lantoimaga on his part took issue with the ongoing night curfew, claiming bandits are taking advantage to carry out more attacks on the locals.
Serikali ijue hiyo kwamba mpaka yetu na Baringo iko mbali sana na kuna title deed. Na kama title deed sikisha aminiki aitambuliwi, mtuambie basi. Kwa sababu hao watu ambao wanaishi hapa hakuna ile anaambia vita.
Serikali mko wapi? Tunaelekea wapi sisi? Tukiwa wa Samburu. Na hapa ni shamba yetu. Mnataka tuende wapi?
Tuko na ushungu ya hali ya juu. Ushungu ambaye hatujawahi iona. Hii mawiki karibu wiki 2-3 sisi hapa ni kulia kila siku, usiku na mchana. Area hii hakuna mtu wako nyumbani. Sai watu yetu wote wako msituni huko, wengine wako na watoto wadogo, wamama wengine ni wajawazito.
Elsewhere, Turkana County Woman Representative Cecilia Ngetit has challenged the area residents to embrace the ongoing security operation in the region.
Kwa hivyo mimi ninataka wakazi wa Turkana tu support serikali kwa hii operation yenye inaendelea. Lazima operation iendelee. Hii bunduki za haramu sitolewe kwa sababu sasa hatuwezi endelea hivi. Lazima hiyo mambo ya banditry, maneno ya kuua watu na kuiba mifugo ikome. Kama vile wewe unasema ulituambia watajua hawajui. Hebu hakikisha hawajui.
Timothy Kipnusu for Lunchtime News.
Bearer leaders have called for a thorough audit of all members of the Land Control Board to ensure that justice was served to all without victimizing particular members of the board or the public. They called for the disbandment of the whole board and to have new members recruited, even as Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission probe 6 members of the County Land Board for demanding and collecting bribes.
On Friday, the 6 members were arrested by Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and questioned for hours before being released on bond and appearing at Kisii police station for further interrogation. Bearer leaders have however called on the EACC to further probe the 6 on accounts of demanding and collecting bribes. Led by Embuguman, member of the National Assembly, Njoki Njeru, the leaders lauded the move by EACC officers to probe the Land Control Board that sits at Kisii once a month.
Uchunguzi ufanywe kamili kuonekane kama kwamba yenyewe wameshikwa na jambo la corruption, wachukuliwe hatua, lakini wasikimbize, wachunguze polepole, wajue nani ambaye amehusika, na kama kuna yeye amehusika achukuliwe hatua.
They noted that corruption and lack of integrity had stagnated the process of land adjudication, especially in the controversial Mwea settlement scheme.
Changamoto zaidi ya sisi kupata title deeds zetu hapa, kwa sababu hao ndio tu watu wanaweza kuleta siasa, hata kuenda kulipa watu waende kotini waharibu kazi za hapa ili waendeleze ukora wao. Tunasema hivi kwa sababu tumeona wameshikwa, tunataka haki ya mwananchi itendeke.
Magumu yote Bwana umemsidania.
Speaking at the Thanksgiving service of Makima MCA Philip Nzangi, Mbeere South MP Engineer Nebath Muriuki claimed members of the public had complained of exorbitant costs for any service by the Land Control Board.
One has already paid a fee which is supposed to cater for the processing. So these are the money which they are asked to pay, and I hear everybody must pay 2,000 before your papers are received for scrutiny. That is corruption.
Mimi ningeomba ya kwamba ile kamati iweze kutupiliwa mbali, wacha Land Board ichaguliwe upya, tukuwe na viongozi ambao ni viongozi wasafi, hawana ile maneno ya kuchukua pesa kutoka kwa mwananchi.
The leaders warned residents of Mbeere against paying any bribes to get services related to land.
And elsewhere, a family in Rionyego village, Nyamache sub-county in Kisii County is in mourning after a man who allegedly hacked his son to death was lynched by an irate mob. The man is reported to have killed his son following a disagreement over the sale of trees planted on the family land, sparking anger among the villagers who lynched him, leaving the family to plan 2 funerals. According to residents, the two have had a protracted dispute over the land before things escalated, resulting in a physical confrontation. They blamed the deceased for sidelining his family and disposing the property without consultation. The police arrived at scene and took his body to Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital mortuary as investigations on the 2 deaths get underway.
Unaamua kufanya kitu wewe peke yako, shida ikitokea utajilaumu mwenyewe. Kwa hivyo ukiamua kufanya kitu kwa familia, fanya consultation ama msikizane na familia ndio fanye kitu. Usipofanya hivyo shida itatokea. Kwa hivyo nawaomba Wakenya wenzangu, fanya consultation kwa jambo lolote ndio shida isitokee.
Away from that, the Kenya National Union of Pharmaceutical Technologists has threatened to pull out of the Pharmacist and Poisons Board for what the union terms as discrimination of its members by the board, declining license renewal of existing premises and limiting pharmaceutical technologists of limited companies are the main concerns the union has raised. Speaking in Meru, the Kenya National Union of Pharmaceutical Technologists Secretary General Elias Mutuma now wants all stakeholders to support a better regulatory framework for pharmaceutical technologists in Kenya. They gave a 14 days ultimatum to the board to address the issues, failure to which the union will institute measures to seek redress through various means.
The representative body for pharmaceutical technologists has continued to raise various protest letters to the Pharmacy and Poison Board, the regulator of pharmacy profession, with no reply or any attempt of engagement or resolving our issues. We wish to draw attention to the CS Health, Parliament, and all stakeholders and all concerned Kenyans to support in better regulatory framework for pharmaceutical technologies in Kenya. Despite the Pharmacy and Poison Board failing to meet its expectation as a regulator, as captured in Cap 244 of laws of Kenya, the board has failed to look back on the challenges we have faced as a profession with the aim of creating opportunities to better and strengthen health system in this era of universal health coverage. We are giving 14 days ultimatum to Pharmacy and Poison Board to address the above issues in those 5 letters, failure to which pharmaceutical technologists through Kenya National Union of Pharmaceutical Technologists will have no option but institute measures to seek redress through various means, not limited to protest and boycott, including going to court.
Switching gears to matters education now, where Garissa Township MP Deko Mohammed has urged the government to quickly address challenges bedeviling the competency-based curriculum, among them shortage of teachers in schools. Speaking at a madrasa in Dekabure, Iftiin Ward, Deko noted that there was no meaningful learning taking place in most schools, not only in Garissa, but across the region.
Deko has raised concern over the post of just one teacher in each school by the Teachers Service Commission, noting delivering the curriculum would be cumbersome for the teachers.
We have a shortage of teachers in this county because of the exodus of the previous, of what have been happening in the security situation in the town. We will be asking the Teacher Service Commission, especially on this transition of from class grade 6 to junior secondary. We have one teacher in each school, which is not adequate enough to teach 14 subjects.
MPs drawn from the region pledged to continue pressing government to address the many challenges plaguing the new system of education that replaced the nearly 4-decade-old 844 system, saying that there is no meaningful learning going on in most parts of the country. Joan Njunge for Lunchtime News.
Following the controversial ruling delivered by a 5-judge bench on Friday at the Supreme Court in favor of the LGBTQ community on freedom of association, Maendeleo ya Wanawake organization has joined the church in protesting the ruling. While addressing members of the press, Rahab Muyu, the chairperson of the organization, expressed dissatisfaction by faulting the Supreme Court ruling, saying it goes against societal values and religious teachings. Muyu added that the ruling was a contradiction to the Kenyan Constitution, which criminalizes homosexuality.
It is sinful and evil, unnatural, and deviates from religious teachings. Kenyan mothers we represent today are for the preservation of positive cultural values, protecting our lineage. You tell me, your children born by your mothers and fathers, when we all go to our final place when we die, what are we going to be leaving behind? If our granddaughters are going to be marrying other women, what our sons, our grandsons are going to be marrying boys, what kind of society is this? There is a problem. We are not saying this thing has not been there, but at least it has been hidden, and people have been lobbying families and talking and trying to help families who have been hit by this kind of thing. We are not naive. We've been exposed, we've traveled. We know it has been there. But we are saying people are trying to manage quietly. But now when it becomes law, you can form an NGO, then there's even no point of sending these children to school. If this is the country which will be looking like in the next 30 years, how will Kenya look like? Kenya is not about today. 60 years we've come this far with independence. How will Kenya look like 60 years to come? It's better we pack our bags and wait for the days we die, because you cannot bequeath children a nation which is so evil like this.
And police officers deployed at the country's borders now want the government to provide them with new and modern weaponry to effectively deal with terrorists along the porous borders. Speaking in Makueni during the burial of Fidel Kimuyu, a police officer who is among 3 officers who died after their car drove over a landmine in Garissa County, Border Police Deputy Commander Isaac Lima said Parliament should ensure border officers get the latest model of weapons. The funeral was attended by Makueni County Senator Daniel Manzo and Makueni Member of Parliament Susan Kiamba.
So tukitangaza kazi hapa ndio amesema msukume kabisa na sisi huku tutawasapa.
Kwa Biblia Samuel
kitu tunahitaji kutoka kweli ni maombi, lakini sisi maombi ya ushindi. Adui akikuja tunanyorosha, si ndio? Adui akikuja tunanyorosha, na vile msaa ule alisema saa ile pengine tuko na viongozi wetu wa parliament, ukienda pale siku mbili zile silaha zinastahili ile mpaka waje tupewe hiyo silaha, kwa sababu ukienda zile inji zimeendelea, ukitembea na gari inakwambia hapo mbele 50 meters kuna kitu imewekwa chini. Hata sisi Kenya tuko na hiyo uwezo, tukisaidiwa nao viongozi wetu. Kwa hivyo ni maombi yetu tupewe silaha ya kutosha. Sisi wenyewe tuko tayari kupambana.
We are taking a break, but don't go too far. We'll be back in just a bit.
Get Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5 as your skiza tune. Dial star 811 star 967 hash.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not in your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5 to 6.
To get Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5, dial star 811 star 967 hash. Star 811 star 967 hash.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723 892 654 or 0734 780 124.
The National Youth Service will hold its pass-out graduation ceremony on 3rd March 2023. His Excellency the President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, will be the guest of honor during the pass-out parade to be held at NYS Paramilitary Academy in Gilgil, Nakuru County. Follow the proceedings live on KBC Channel 1 on Friday, 3rd March 2023 from 10 a.m. NYS, huduma kwa taifa.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Now, residents from Nyandarua County are decrying the increased consumption of illicit brews, especially among the youth. Nyandarua County Woman Representative Faith Gitau says liquor store licenses should be issued in a controlled manner in a bid to reduce the availability of alcohol. Law enforcers have been urged to partner with local authorities to help curb the menace.
In Nyandarua County, residents are decrying the increased sale of illicit brew and abuse of drugs among the youth. The residents have lamented that most young people have been adversely affected by illicit brew, which has in turn rendered their families poor as they seek medical care in rehabilitation centers. The residents claim that chiefs and their assistants are aware of the individuals involved in the businesses but do little to help the situation.
Tuko na shida ya vijana wetu kunywa pombe. Sasa ningeomba serikali ya Kenya tuangalilie hiyo maneno ya bangi na pombe.
Na shida ya pombe, wauzaji wa pagi na usho tu hapa karibu na college. Na tunataka hiyo mambo iangaliwe sana.
Speaking during a relief food distribution event at Kipipiri constituency, Nyandarua County Women Representative Faith Gitau called for concerted efforts to fight the sale and consumption of illicit brew and drugs, noting that there was a need to go for the source of the product, saying it will help deal with part of the problem. She further called upon Nyandarua governor to stop issuing more licenses to businesses selling alcohol as a mitigation measure.
Nasihi governor wa Nyandarua, tunaona siku hizi ni licensing tu za bar. Bar zimekuwa nyingi hata kushinda restaurants. Kwa hivyo tunakuuliza, simamisha issuing of licenses za liquor.
Reporting for Lunchtime News, I am Teresa Mutai.
Let's switch gears to politics now, where Kisumu Senator Professor Tom Ojienda says he remains a member of the Orange Democratic Movement Party, an affiliate of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition, despite his working relationship with President William Ruto. Ojienda argues that time for politicking had ended and now elected leaders must focus on service delivery to the electorate. Professor Ojienda is among a section of elected members of the Orange Party who recently visited President William Ruto at State House. Wycliffe Okech reports.
Professor Ojienda has defended his recent visit to State House alongside other legislators elected on the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya ticket, saying the move was based on the need to deliver development to the electorate. Ojienda maintains he remains a member of the ODM party. He says he will not be deterred from working with leaders from the opposite political wing in serving Kenyans.
The visit to State House was simply a strategic visit because I was summoned to State House following the agreement on the various projects for Kisumu County. That was it. And the choice was, do I attend for my people as a representative, that's representation, or do I refuse? And I said it is important that the people take the center stage. So that we then also must look at the output. What are the real outputs? And the outputs will be there to be seen.
The Kisumu senator apparently seemingly reading from a political script different from that of his party leader Raila Odinga.
In my mind and in my view, and this is a correct objective position, you have a president and a country, because otherwise if you say there was no president, then there can be no legislature, there can be no judiciary. Therefore, you cannot be an MP when you're saying there was no president, there was no election. And how can you talk about an MP? How can a member of parliament say that there's no election? How can I be a senator when I say there's no election or there's no framework of recognition?
Senator Ojienda was speaking in Kisumu when he issued over 8 million shillings worth of scholarship fees to support needy learners in the Lakeside County.
So far we have done over 8 million shillings, 8,372,000 to over 792 students. It's a process. What we have done as a Senate office is to source money from different friends and from our pockets, basically own resources to support education.
For Lunchtime News, I am Wycliffe Okech.
Across borders in Nigeria, vote counting that began on Saturday is ongoing. As of now, 3 candidates have emerged as the frontrunners in the election of Africa's most populous country. A total of 87.2 million people were eligible to vote for President Muhammadu Buhari's successor, as well as a new vice president and members of the new National Assembly. Results from 35 states are set to be announced following the announcement of results from one state.
Counting and verification of votes in Nigeria is ongoing. The exercise was marred by long delays at polling stations, as well as scattered reports of destruction of ballot boxes and attacks by armed men. The release of results from one state out of 36 states has attracted speculations from the candidates. The People's Democratic Party (PDP) candidate Atiku Abubakar now says that the preliminary results showed he was on the course to win Nigeria's presidential election. The candidate of the governing All Progressive Congress Party, Bola Tinubu, won most of the votes from the southwestern Ekiti state, receiving 201,494 votes. Mr. Abubakar received 89,554 votes, while Peter Obi of the Labour Party got 11,397 votes. On its part, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) chairperson Mahmoud Yakubu said the commission will announce other results in due course of Monday, while assuring the public that the body will fix glitches on its election results viewing portal. This came after Mr. Abubakar called upon INEC to order its officers to upload all results to the portal to prevent alleged attempts to compromise the vote. Final presidential results are expected to be declared by March 1st. Frederick Parsayo, Lunchtime News.
It is time now for business, and the Departmental Committee on Blue Economy and Fisheries is meeting with the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation to deliberate on the budget policy statement of 2023. Let's take a look.
Now technology is a bigger part of it.
We form CBOs, we train them, and then we put them under regulation through WASREP. So WASREP, which has also delegated the water companies, will be monitoring the performance of these boreholes. Because 60% of them are broken down. Everywhere. 6% are broken down. So that's the model we are adopting. That's the model that the PS will explain on the water 10,000. Because honorable members, you remember when we were doing supplementary, you requested that the PS would come and talk about water 10,000. And I think it's better because it's here, he can talk 10,000. Yeah. I think I can give it to Twitter.
Thank you. Madam CS, for the issue of 10,000 water program, we will seek a special meeting with you and the ministry so that these members are able to understand very well, because you may not exhaustively give us what is it about. Proceed, Twitter.
Right, those are live pictures coming to us from the Windsor Hotel. Hibak Said is our reporter who will be giving us a comprehensive report on that particular story. Now, moving on, startups that have unique business ideas have a chance to secure a seed capital of up to $5,000, courtesy of the Tony Elumelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Program that targets to support youth-led businesses grow their enterprises. Beneficiaries under the program will also be trained, then offered the funding.
We want to see what is that which is there for us as counties, which is there for us as young people of this country. What is that we can tap to? Look at $5,000 US given to a young person with an idea. It brings the change. The State Department considers the partnership as an opportunity to empower the general citizenry with skills, knowledge, and appropriate attitudes as a catalyst for sustainable development.
The whole essence of having this global network is to support trade in and out of Africa, support intra-Africa trade, but most importantly, support African governments, African businesses to trade and relate to the rest of the world. Relating with the counties enables us to ensure that each county at the minimum have representative as beneficiaries of the Tony Elumelu Foundation.
COMESA member states have been urged to implement competition laws to foster innovation to effectively compete. COMESA Competition Commission CEO Dr. Willard Mwemba says healthy competition ensures companies improve their products and services to keep up with the market trends and offer the best to consumers. Betty Kiptum reports.
The launch of the African Continental Free Trade Area in 2021 provided new opportunities for African countries to grow their economies through trade. To conquer the vast market in Africa, innovation is a necessity. The COMESA Competition Commission says competition laws serve as a lever for enhancing innovation.
Every business that is happening now, technology is a bigger part of it. So, and you can only embrace that technology, you can only become technologically savvy if you are threatened by something. But the day this guy may want to come out of Kenya, there is no way he will go and survive there. There is no way, because his products will be very archaic. His business model will not be for the current consumer or the modern consumer. Consumers will say, no, this is not what I'm used to. This is not how we conduct business.
He says implementation of competition laws at a national level is key to growing companies that can compete globally.
It is very important, even at national level, to make sure that our companies learn to compete. And we're talking about Africa creating what we call giants, right? We call them at national level, we would call them national champions. At Africa level, I'm sure we may call them Africa champions. So these are champions that we want to go and compete out there.
He is challenging companies to embrace competition, which exposes them to standards in their industry, adding that a lack of competition leads to monopoly and can close off the market to entrants.
If you are not competitive, it's the what do you call the rules of natural selection. If you are not competitive, you automatically die. Because those that are competitive will attract all the consumers. And to be competitive, it means you keep on thinking and thinking and thinking.
Betty Kiptum, Lunchtime News.
Meanwhile, traders in Busia County have been challenged to embrace digital space to grow their businesses and ease cross-border trade. The Canadian government has partnered with the county government of Busia to build the capacity of cross-border traders on digital platforms.
The one-stop border post at Busia has facilitated cross-border trading between Kenya and other Eastern and Central African countries. Most traders are, however, yet to shift their businesses and process online, a feat that the Canadian government and the county government of Busia are keen to have reversed.
Priority is looking at sustainable, inclusive economic growth, not only for your community, but across the region and across the continent.
A capacity building initiative has been rolled out targeting to train cross-border traders on opportunities on the digital space.
Through internet, Wi-Fi, they had been trained. I was so happy. And that is why I'm not going to stop holding their hand tight.
The training is expected to promote entrepreneurship and enhance production. Frederick Moki for Lunchtime News.
Across borders, inflation continues to rise in Morocco. Many people in the country are finding themselves priced out of certain things, including food. Inflation increased to 8.9% in January, up from 6.6% in December. Here are this and other stories making headlines in Africa.
Morocco has been negatively impacted by the Russia-Ukraine conflict, as have the rest of the world economies. Commodity prices have risen, food and energy in particular. Moroccans have been finding it harder and harder to purchase vegetables and fruits in the city of Sale. Under pressure from protests last year, the Moroccan government scaled up social protection. The country's central bank had expected inflation to slow to 3.9% in 2023 from last year's high of 6.6%. Elsewhere, cab-hailing app Bolt has announced plans to invest 500 million euros in its operations in Africa over the next 2 years. The funds will be used to expand Bolt services in Africa and create opportunities for over 300,000 new drivers and couriers to join the platform in 2023. Having launched in South Africa in 2016, Bolt now operates ride-hailing and delivery services in 6 countries including Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, Uganda, Tanzania and Tunisia. And finally, Tropical Cyclone Freddy has caused persistent rain and affected the normal life of locals after making landfall in Mozambique's Ihambane province. According to weather forecast, heavy rain brought by Freddy, one of the longest-lasting systems in the southern hemisphere, will continue in the next few days, increasing the risk of floods and landslides in southern Mozambique and southeastern Zimbabwe. Residents were forced to abandon their flood-damaged houses and head to temporary shelters set by the local government and international organizations.
And on the international scene, Britain is facing a tomato crisis due to insufficient overseas production and supply from Southern Europe and North Africa. But Londoners say they are worried more about inflation than the tomato shortage. British media have reported that supermarkets are running out of tomatoes, cucumbers and chilies, or resorting to rationing supplies because of rising fertilizer costs, inflation, the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and bad weather in North Africa and Southern Europe. Here are the details of this and other stories making headlines across the globe.
Sainsbury's, a large supermarket in London, had plentiful supply of tomatoes on Thursday, and workers of the supermarket said there were no restrictions on buying tomatoes. A retired couple shopping tomatoes at the supermarket said the main reason for the surge in prices is the cost of energy. In Tesco, another major supermarket chain, the supply of tomatoes was also sufficient on Thursday. But on Friday, tomatoes in Tesco were sold out. A local shopper said that she was terrified by the shortage of tomatoes and other crops. And over 20 varieties of tomatoes for sale at the Sainsbury's on Thursday dwindled to only about 4 varieties in a few days. Unionists warn that geopolitical events such as the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict and uncertainty caused by climate change are putting pressure on supply chains. Elsewhere, Nokia has announced plans to change its brand identity for the first time in nearly 60 years. The new logo comprises 5 different shapes forming the word Nokia. The iconic blue color of the old logo has been dropped for a range of colors depending on the use. While Nokia still aims to grow its service provider business where it sells equipment to telecom companies, its main focus is now to sell gear to other businesses. Nokia plans to review the growth path of its different businesses and consider alternatives, including divestment. And finally, Twitter has laid off at least 200 employees, marking the 8th round of firing since Elon Musk took over the social media giant last October. The layoffs on Saturday night impacted product managers, data scientists, and engineers who worked on the machine learning and site reliability, which helps keep Twitter's various features online. The layoff also involved technicians working on advertising support and those from infrastructure's tech team that ensures the smooth running of the microblogging site. Some pointed out the move came in response to the plummeting income of the company.
All right, let's take a look at the day's sport, where Josephat Kiprotich and Valentine Jepkoech won the 2023 edition of the Mount Kenya Mountain Running Championship held at Kisii in Meru. The two won their respective 13-kilometer senior races, with Elias Kipkor and Ann Nairikop winning the junior titles.
Josephat Kiprotich and Valentine Jepkoech are the 2023 winners of the Mount Kenya Mountain Running Championship after winning their respective senior 13-kilometer races. Kiprotich clocked 44 minutes 7.4 seconds to win the men's race, ahead of Patrick Kipngeno and Michael Saoli, who was second and third respectively. Jepkoech was the fastest senior lady on the ground, winning in 50 minutes 37.4 seconds. She crossed the line ahead of Jeruto Kipsang and Bensi Cheruyot, who settled for second and third positions respectively. Elias Kipkorir won the junior 8-kilometer under 20 men's race in 42 minutes 42.9 seconds, beating Danson Derito and Pius Murimi, who crossed the line in second and third positions in that order.
This national event will be held every year the month of February, na we are still lobbying na tunaamini Mungu atatupatia favor so that next event ambayo tuna anticipate itakuwa kubwa sana ya 2025. God will give us favor, we shall host ya dunia mzima hapa Meru.
Ann Nairikop took gold in the under-20 women's 6-kilometer race, clocking 34 minutes 33.4 seconds, edging Christine Mutua and Susan Wahome, who were the other two podium finishers. Dixon Esekon and Sheila Mbaku won the over 50 years 6-kilometer races.
And overseas, Spanish soccer giants Barcelona failed to extend their lead at the top of the league standings after they were beaten 1-0 by Almeria. In France, Kylian Mbappe scored a brace as PSG beat Marseille 3-0.
They meet Los Blancos in the cup.
Malian striker El Bilal Toure scored the only goal as Almeria beat Barcelona 1-0 to move them to 14th on the La Liga standings.
El Bilal Toure chests that down. It might come back to El Bilal Toure. He'll go through on goal here, facing up to Marc-Andre ter Stegen. Blast the ball in off the crossbar, and Almeria take the lead against Barcelona.
The loss to Almeria ends a 7-game winning streak in La Liga for Barcelona.
It was Araujo who got the nod on it.
In another match, Sevilla were beaten 3-2 at home by Osasuna. In Italy, Junior Messias was on target as AC Milan beat Atalanta Bergamo 2-0. France, PSG beat Marseille 3-0 to extend their lead to 8 points.
And at 55 minutes past the hour, we come to the end of lunchtime news, but more news at 4 p.m. on Kurunzi, at 7 p.m. on Darubini, and 9 p.m. on Prime Edition. I am Nissie Imano. Susan Thuku has been our sign language interpreter. Good afternoon.
priest uses his hands to cross himself. Let's go. Hey, don't you dare hurt her. Don't mistreat her, okay? You said they're only used to cross yourself, okay?
Father!
You haven't won anything. You wanted to play with fire? Prepare yourself.
Take it easy. You know how the saying goes. The man who doesn't have a woman with him already has all the women in the world. And I'm number one on that list.
And for those who still don't know about it, I want to tell you something that made me very happy. Amparo has finally agreed to marry me. Marry you?
Well, then that's great news. We have to celebrate as a family. Alonso and Malena are secret lovers.
What?
I went inside Alonso's room and I found Malena with him in his bathroom.
I swear he will never hurt you anymore. I promise you that.
Ulimatupi wewe na wewe ni nini?
Mimi ulinipotelea nikajiuliza sasa hizi ni mashita gani? Wewe unajua wewe ndio ulikuwa best friend wangu hizi siku zote.
What's go? Nakwambia wale matope kumbe ile kitu iko na sibiti. Ili kocha spiti yake kumbe ni 2000 km per hour. Ili nikaongeza hapo bongo ikachikana na small intestine ikachikana na polymeros.
Sitaki kuestiwa time. Wewe umekuja hapa. Si uko na kitu cha kusema?
Lego nayo.
Si uniambie nasikiza I can as well multitask. Nani ajui? Nani haelewi story zako?
Nyama. Ati nini?
Haujui? Hakuna mtu mwenye.
Wewe.
Nini?
Hello everyone and welcome to this new edition of Business Africa. For this the first show of the year, we're looking at the alternatives imagined by Africans in the field of agri-food and food systems. We head for Cameroon and Benin, coming up on the show. Let's zoom on cassava flour derivatives in Cameroon, a mouth-watering alternative to wheat flour. The flour used to cost 400 per kilo, now it costs 550 or even 600. The price is really high and it doesn't allow the donut sellers to make donuts anymore. Young and employed Beninese convert to organic farming and meet strong consumer demand for healthy products.
Ecological and organic agriculture is not the best option for many, and there are very few farmers who invest in this sector. Even at the level of public authorities, efforts to increase this type of agriculture are lacking.
Tends to accommodate families and guests in Togo. Spotlight on a flourishing business.
The apatams were made using branches from the palm tree or the coconut tree. Later, they were made using calico, percale or even printed fabrics. Now we use tarpaulin.
Since the start of the Russian-Ukrainian war last year, wheat flour has become rare and expensive in several African countries. Many are looking for alternatives in local production. This is the case in Cameroon, where young entrepreneurs are embarking on the production of cassava flour. In shops and supermarkets in Douala, there are now pastries or couscous derived from this alternative flour. Can this initiative become sustainable? Our journalist Maxime Bougnafarel tried to find out more. Take a look.
Mama Ange waits patiently in her shop in a working-class district of Douala in Cameroon for customers to buy a bag of flour that she purchased at the beginning of the week. The current inflation is something she's never experienced in the 10 years she's owned the shop.
The flour used to cost 400 per kilo, now it costs 550 or even 600. The price is really high and it doesn't allow the donut sellers to make donuts anymore. When you see the 25-cent donuts, it's like a marble. The oil is expensive, the flour is expensive, and the sugar is expensive. So they can't do it anymore, and many of them have even left.
While Mama Ange and other Cameroonians grumble about the increasing costs of flour and other products in recent months, wholesalers and retailers place the blame on the war in Ukraine, which has reduced availability of some basic staples. It's something that makes life difficult for millions of households.
Before I could take out even 10 bags of flour. Now I sell a bag in 3 or 4 days. Imagine when you sell a bag in 3 or 4 days, you sell 2 or 3 bags a week. This has a big impact on sales. Usually we should be familiar with flours such as cassava and maize, but this is different from the case in the market, and we are more familiar with wheat flour.
As inflation persists, a Cameroonian association proposed a local solution as an alternative to the increasingly expensive flour. They decided to replace the wheat flour with cassava flour, in which cassava tubers are transformed into flour, which is then used to make bread and other pastries.
We transform cassava into flour for pastry, and with this flour we make crispy biscuits, pancakes, cakes and pizzas. We also have water fufu, the water fufu we eat with the eru and the fresh couscous.
Sulamite's center of production is in the Bonaberi district of Douala.